Alright guys, and welcome to my quick video of everything that you need to know about Diablo 4. Now the aim of this video is to get through it without any waffle really, so these are the topics I'm going to discuss. First of all, the absolute essentials like release dates, when the beta is coming out, when it's finishing, how is the game going to be monetized, the classes, character progression, loads of changes there by the way, game modes and endgame, what to actually even do in this game, gear and itemization, crafting, and lastly, PvP. The game will release June the 6th, early access on June the 2nd if you pre-order. Now if you pre-order the game, you can get access to the closed beta on the 17th to the 20th of March, and then they're going to have an open beta on the 24th to the 26th of March. All you have to do is click the description down below if you want to sign up for the beta. Remember that Diablo is actually a cross-platform game, so it will be out on PC but also PlayStation and Xbox. How is the game going to be monetized? Well, first of all, you have to buy the game in order to play it.
60 quid?
And Blizzard have also emphasised that there won't be any way for you to buy power in the game to make your character more powerful. However, there's a caveat to that. Anyway, there's an in-game cosmetic only shop. Expect like transmog items and mounts. There will also be a season pass system where you pay for a battle pass style of progression. Now apparently this will come out in 3 tiers. And the battle pass will allow you to get all of the latest content for the game, and it will be in 3 tiers, so a low tier, mid tier and high tier. And it will include, included cosmetics, the premium currency to buy more cosmetics, gameplay boosts, aka season boosts, which are essentially experience boosts. Now for classes, a little less classes than what Diablo fans are going to be used to. Only the Barbarian, Druid, Sorceress, Rogue and Necromancer are available at launch. You'll be able to customize your character like hairstyles, tattoos, scars, etc. You can choose a series of different skills as you level up in the game. You have your basic skills, ultimate skills that will customize your build, which are essentially similar to, World of Warcraft abilities, like when you level up and you unlock something like Frostbolt. Like for instance, the Barbarian having Lunging Strike that lunges him forward, dealing damage. Now if people really like this video, I will do full class overviews and more detailed overview videos of basically every topic in the video. So be sure to like and subscribe to the video, I would really appreciate it as it has taken hours and hours of time to research this video. Now character progression is very detailed, interesting if you're not used to systems that have been introduced in the game, especially if you haven't played previous Diablo games. You don't just gain levels and spend talent points like you would in World of Warcraft. There's a number of different, essentially talent point systems in the game that are separate from one another. So first of all, the max level is actually level 100. Technically it's 50, but you gain paragon points to raise your level higher than level 50, and these also unlock essentially a talent screen. Let's kind of simplify things. A talent screen that has more bonuses for your character, like stat increases or legendary powers or something that's going to boost your resistances, for example. You also have a renown system that increases your player power, and this is rewarded to you for exploration. Altars of Lilith are altars in the open world that also grant you a permanent stat reward. Next we have the Codex of Power. You are rewarded power for completing dungeons. It is essentially a collection of your legendary aspects which are unlocked by completing the dungeons. But to simplify things again, this is basically just another talent system. You know how in World of Warcraft you would get a talent, for instance. Let's go for the mage as an example again. You get a talent to reduce the cast time of your firebolt by 0.5 seconds. This is a similar thing. But this talent point is limited. You can't just pick loads of them all at once, and it will get affixed to one of your items. And then you do have skill trees, which are probably the closest thing that you would get to a typical talent build in other MMOs. It's probably going to be a lot less linear than what you're used to, and this skill tree also will unlock new abilities. You'll notice that there's more ability unlocks than what you're used to in World of Warcraft. And you can be respect as much as you want, but there is a gold cost, and the more powerful you get, the more it's going to cost for you to respec. So as you can see, character progression is very complex in this game. I don't want to try and overcomplicate things, because I think for people who haven't played Diablo before, it is going to be a little bit overwhelming. Just kind of imagine it like there's just multiple different talent trees and they're a little bit different. Kind of like how in World of Warcraft Legion there was like a normal talent system, but then your artifact weapon talents. There are just multiple progression boards to progress your character. So, game modes. What do you actually do in this game? What is it all about? What is the point of even playing it? Well, firstly, there's normal and hardcore modes of the game. Hardcore means you actually permanently die when you die, and you can't respawn. The game also doesn't have an offline mode. It is a permanently online game. It's not really an MMO in a sense that you would probably normally think of as an MMO like World of Warcraft. It's more like a close-knit MMO, okay, because when you're out in the open world, you can choose to bump into other players in the open world, or you can just play the game solo. You can also form groups of up to 4 players, and the group leader's world and campaign progress will be what every other player sees and experiences. This is in essence an open world game. Now, it's a preset open world game, not a totally randomized open world game like Minecraft. However, dungeons can be randomized. Dungeons themselves, they aren't just about going floor to floor and killing enemies and getting to a boss at the end. You see, they are a little bit more interesting than that. For instance, first of all, there are objectives for you to complete. There's random events that can happen at any moment to catch you off guard. So when you go to an area that you've already cleared, don't expect it to be clear. And actions in an earlier part of a dungeon can change what happens later in the dungeon. And the more you progress the objective, the harder the enemies become, but the better the reward. As you explore the world and complete quests and dungeons, you will start to see more players in the open world as you unlock more content, because then you are at the same stage that all the other players are. Basically how quest phasing works when you're progressing through a new zone in a World of Warcraft expansion. The amount of players you see is limited though. You won't see everyone who is playing the game all at once on your screen. The game is layered. Dynamic weather and time will also affect what the game looks like and what monsters will appear. And it is linked to real world time, depending obviously on what region you play. So there are 5 different distinct regions to explore, and I think many Diablo fans would be happy to know that there is actually quite a lot of diversity to the different regions. First of all, you've got the Fractured Peaks, a snowy place with mountains. You've got Skosglen, which is a foresty area. You've got the Dry Steppes, imagine deserty canyons. Kyrgyzstan, which is a deserty area that has loads of ruined cities and probably remnants of an ancient civilization, which we're going to find out. And for Horizar, imagine a swampy, bleak medieval Europe. And obviously, there's also Hell. Now, I don't think I need to explain what Hell is going to look like. I think imagery and depictions of Hell are pretty much engraved into us when we're children. There's towns and strongholds. These are going to be the kind of areas where there'll be social hubs for you to bump into other players. You've got waypoints around the world for fast travel, and there's also PvP dedicated zones, which we'll talk more a little bit more later. There's a story and campaign to progress through. This takes place after the event of Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. In fact, it's decades after, apparently. And this apparently is going to be a non-linear 35-hour experience. So after the prologue, you can actually go and choose what act you want to play first. It really doesn't hold your hand through a storyline. Go and pick what storyline you want. At Endgame, there's also world bosses. You've got nightmare dungeons, which, clues of the name, they are more difficult dungeons. You've got the Tree of Whispers, which is essentially a world quest system. Very similar to, World of Warcraft again. We also have Helltide events, which are region-wide events. That is essentially a big demon invasion that you have to fight off with other players. You also have the World Tier system, which is a way that you can change the content of the game to keep it challenging as your player becomes more powerful. So it will make lower level areas you've been to in the past scale up to you. New content will come out for the game. There are planned 4 seasons of new content per year. Moving on now to gear and itemization, which has also many new complex systems. So first of all, let's cover the basics. You have your item qualities. You've got normal, magic, rare, legendary, and then you'll have set and unique pieces as well. However, sets are not going to be available at launch. Now, legendary items are Diablo a bit different to the World of Warcraft. Not only do they have ridiculously powerful stats, but they can also modify your class's skills and abilities. There's a number of different weapons in the game. You've got a bow, you've got melee weapons like daggers, axes, maces, then also like 2-hand variations of those. You have scythes, you have staves, you have wands. Items can also have what's called affixes, where they add points to your stats or to your skill ranks or abilities that you've unlocked, which can be things like also cooldown reduction or movement speed. There's legendary powers, which are normally class specific. Each time you use an ability, like your main ability that your class has, there's a chance for an extra effect to happen. There's runes and rune words. Now, these are said to be added later, but basically you can add them to your items for better stats and extra effects. Now, gems, fairly similar to World of Warcraft, they go in sockets for more stats, and you've also got consumes, like elixirs, that can boost your stats for a certain amount of time, and health potions. Now, crafting, you don't get professions trained to your character yourself, but there are crafters in towns that you can go to and essentially give them materials and they craft stuff for you. Firstly, the blacksmith. He will upgrade gear, repair gear, and also break down items so that you can break them into resources. You've got the alchemist that will upgrade your health potions and craft stat boosting elixirs. The jeweler, he will craft gems, unsocket gems, and add sockets to your gear or also upgrade your jewelry items. There's also the oculist, who will extract and apply affixes onto legendary and rare items, and he can also craft nightmare seals that are used to unlock nightmare dungeons. Then you also have the wardrobe, which is responsible for transmog and armor dyeing. And lastly, we need to talk about PvP. Now, PvP happens in the Fields of Hatred, which are essentially open world PvP zones. You can also explore these zones with PvP off, but you need your PvP mode turned on in order to fight other people, so it's very similar to war mode in retail WoW. Now, the objective in these zones is to collect Seeds of Hatred, which can be gained by killing other players, but mainly from killing monsters and then killing other players who have also killed monsters. And when you die also yourself, you're going to drop your Seeds of Hatred for other players to steal. Now, this currency can be turned into another currency called Red Dust, which you can only convert when you are obviously in a safe area and you don't drop red dust on death. And this can be spent on PvP cosmetics and mounts and stuff like that. By the way, there is also mounts in the game. If you kill enough enemy players, you become a Vessel of Hatred, which marks you on the map for other players to see, and if you survive long enough in this state for a certain amount of time, it will grant you a bonus. We're not sure what this added boon is going to be yet, though. There you go, guys. I've covered everything that I can in as short as time as possible. This is really just kind of like a tester feeler video. If people want to see more videos like this about Diablo in the future, then yeah, I will do it, and I will do more videos which cover more specific topics like we discussed in this video in more detail. For instance, we can do class overview videos. So if you think that's a good idea, then definitely let me know in the comment section down below. But until my next video, ciao.